So I appreciate everybody showing up to the webinar today. Really what we want to do is just go over this new FTC Safeguard Rule that goes into effect tomorrow. So this is something that was passed at the end of last year. There's a leniency period all the way through June 9th of this year. So we at Form Piper and Red Sentry, we're just making it our job to inform everybody we work with, our people we've talked to or in industries we're in, to let them know about this rule. So before we get started, want to just do a quick introduction here. We have Peyton on the call from Red Sentry. He is in charge of strategic partnerships over there. So Peyton, say hello.
Hey everyone. Like Russ mentioned, I run the partnership program at Red Sentry, and we saw a lot of requests for a tool that can help retailers be compliant with the FTC Safeguards Rule, and partnered up with Form Piper to be able to get it to everybody as soon as we could, and make it affordable and accessible, so that audit goes well.
Awesome, thanks Peyton. And I'm Russ Reynolds. I am on the sales team here at Form Piper and work with some of our strategic partners like Peyton. The whole goal of today is just get you guys informed of what's going on with the Safeguards Rule. So I think the best place to start is, what is the Safeguards Rule? So table of contents here. Why was the rule created? Then who it applies to, and the requirements, so your system requirements. And then we'll just talk about what vulnerability scanning is. So the FTC Safeguards Rule was passed by the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, and it was implemented under the GLBA, so the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. The rule is a consumer protection regulation. So typically the FTC doesn't step into the retail space, but when it has to do with consumer protection, that is when they get their hands involved. It's designed to protect the personal and financial information of consumers. And it requires certain businesses to develop, implement, and maintain comprehensive information security programs to protect that customer information. So how does this impact your business? Non-compliance of the law can result in a $26,000 to $100,000 fine per instance from the FTC. And I'm sure, as you guys know, they kind of like to move in silence. This law wasn't really, or this rule wasn't really announced and marketed. So they didn't just, have a big press release letting everybody know that they created this rule. So the last thing you want is to just be audited and caught off guard there. So why was the rule created? I don't know if you guys pay attention to some like tech news or what's going on in the world of technology, but in recent years, I'd say a big spike happened during COVID in 2020. There's been a significant increase in hacking. Hacking techniques have got better, data breaches are happening, ransomware attacks. So I actually was talking to one of our customers who's a furniture store out in Arizona, and they were telling me about 4 years ago, somebody in one of their buying groups was all of their data and their customer information was held for ransom. So this is a big movement for them. So they're happy that we made this partnership with Red Sentry. So all these incidents are leading to exposure of sensitive information, which is really, honestly, the last thing you want when you have retail customers coming into your store. You want to make sure that you're creating the best customer experience possible. So if you have any vulnerabilities in your system to where it makes it easy for a hacker to access that information, you might want to look into how to fix those. So the rule is addressing this growing threat of cybercrime by aiming to ensure that your business is proactively assessing its risks and implementing subtle safeguards and monitoring and adapt security practices to safeguard the customer information. So while the risk of ransomware attacks has influenced emphasis on data security, the rule is also driven by broader concerns regarding consumer privacy. So regulatory compliance as well, and modernization of financial regulations in the digital era. So again, this is something that, like, as technology gets better and better, there are going to be a lot more laws around protecting consumers' data, and the practices that your businesses has to implement to make sure that you're not leaving your systems vulnerable for an attack. And I think the big thing here is, who does this apply to? Retailers who extend credit to their customers. So that is all furniture stores, pet stores, jewelry stores, elective medical and dental practices. The list goes on and on. So, mortgage brokers. I saw travel agencies that offer consumer financing. When I was looking up the law, there's really anywhere that you think the law would apply, it does apply. Some of the traditional, lending options are going to be affected too. So what does the rule say that you need? What kind of systems requirements does the rule enforce? So the FTC requires systems to be constantly monitored in order to protect the security of customer data. So for information system, testing can be accomplished through a continuous monitoring of your system. So that's what vulnerability scanning is. And we'll go into that a little bit more on the next slide. But if you don't use a constant monitoring approach, then you have to do something called a pen test or penetration testing. And this has to be done 2 times a year. And this is a more expensive option than the vulnerability scanning. And essentially what penetration testing is, it's kind of like somebody's trying to hack your system, but it's a good guy hacker. So not all hackers are bad. There is offensive hacking, which is getting you out in front of any issues that you would see. But again, this is a rigorous job, and it's a lot more expensive than the vulnerability scanning that we're offering you today. So this is a great place to start. And if you notice a lot of vulnerabilities in your system, you might want to move on down to the pen testing afterward. So vulnerability scanning, I try to break this up in a way that can relate to everybody. So vulnerability scanning is like detective work for your computers and your networks. So when detectives are looking for clues to find a weakness in a case, vulnerability scanning is looking for a weakness in your computer systems. It's going to use a special software that scans and checks computers' websites and your networks to find any openings or vulnerabilities that could be exploited by hackers. So it's kind of like when you go to bed at night, you go around and you make sure all the doors are locked. You're just doing that with your systems and your networks in your business to make sure that your customers' information is safe. And when you find those weaknesses, you can have them fixed and make them more secure. So, if you do have these weaknesses and they sit around for a long time, hacker probably is going to notice that and they're going to be able to get into your system. So one of the questions we get now is, how do I get started? Well, if you are a FormPiper customer, I think the best way for me to actually show you this would just be to log into FormPiper. And show you when you come down here on the left-hand side, you'll see the integration section. And what you want to do is you want to hit the activate button. And then this is where you might need help from maybe me or maybe your IT team, and maybe both. So if you have multiple stores, you could have one VPN that kind of connects all of your networks. And that's where you would use the multi-store with VPN. If you have a single store or if you have multiple stores and they're all on separate networks, then you would just use this single store. So just to make things simple today, I'm going to walk you through how to do it from a single store. You're going to come in and you're going to put in the domain that you want. So your website. I can't do 2 things at once. So I got to go quiet for a second. You're going to come in, you're going to put in the email address that you want to get notifications sent to. So these will be the notifications where your testing is sent. And then you're also going to put in your email. So those could be separate. A lot of times they're going to be the same. You're going to hit save. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to choose the cards you have on file. You're going to click that and you're going to see the check mark there. And then you're going to hit that confirm button. Once you do that, there will be a notification under the integration. There'll be a little check mark right here letting you know that you have activated that integration. And then from there, we will connect you with Peyton or myself, and we will walk you through how to set up the internal scans for your business. Peyton, did I miss anything about signing people up, or was anything off there? Was that good?
No, it's pretty straightforward. So it's going to be performing external and internal vulnerability scanning on a continuous basis, and you'll be getting like a weekly report. And all those reports will have a full guide on how to fix any of the issues that were found. And once you sign up through FormPiper's integration page, it'll go ahead and automatically create your external Sentry, which is going to be scanning your website and that domain that you put in. And then from there, we'll just set up a quick 30-minute call, and I'll be able to walk you through setting up the internal scanner so it's able to look through all of the different ports and devices that are in that network, and if there's any vulnerabilities, report back those to you as well. And then and there's also we'll also be able to provide you with a letter of attestation for vulnerability assessments that can be generated right from the platform, and you can use that for giving it to any type of auditor that you'll come across with the Safeguards Rule. That's about it.
Awesome. Perfect. And I put this slide on here just to give you kind of like an overview of what the platform looks like when you sign in. But really, I want to talk about what to do if you're not a FormPiper customer. I'm not sure if we have any FormPiper prospects or people that aren't customers on the webinar, but you guys might run into somebody, you're business owners, so I'm sure you have a lot of friends who are business and retail owners who this law is going to affect. If they're not a FormPiper customer, you can have them reach out to us, and what we can do is we can create an account for them. And basically, it's just like a limited FormPiper account. They're not going to be running apps with it, but they will be protected with Red Sentry. So I'm going to drop my information in the chat. Oh, what is domain? I'm sorry, I missed these questions. Oh, Katie, thank you. Perfect. So yeah, I'm going to drop my info in the chat. You guys can reach out to me with any questions you have. Peyton, you want to drop your email in there as well?
Yep, I will drop that in right now.
Perfect. And then now I want to just open up the floor to questions. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them now, and we will get those answered.
I'm kind of curious. I don't offer financing through my websites. We use FormPiper in our store. So what would be my domain? How would it work in my store?
Sure, I can touch on this, Monty. So the way that it kind of works is so let's say, for instance, you're using FormPiper and you have your credential logins that you would use to get into there. Pretty much from either the external environment, which could be connected to your internal systems, if a hacker is able to gain access to the internal systems from the website and domain, which it happens pretty frequently, they could go in there and be able to harvest different credentials and search for different types of usernames and passwords for any of the systems you use, not only just FormPiper, and be able to ransom the data that way. So the scanning will be able to show you all the places that you are vulnerable and how to be able to fix it all. And then from there, you can feel secure in that that type of situation when it happened. And that's kind of why they were setting this into motion.
Well, I guess I'm still lost because I don't host my websites. That's done by a third party. I mean, I can't even log into my websites. The third party handles all of it. So I'm not sure how somebody could get into my website and then somehow hack into me.
And if it's hosted by a third-party website or a third-party host, you can definitely still just sign up, and it would run on that website. But the main focus would be on the internal scanning for your store location.
So I would log it instead of using my domain, which doesn't get to FormPiper anyway. I would somehow put it on my network in my store.
Right, and that would be kind of the follow-up call where I would walk through that with you and get that set up, and then it'll be able to find all the vulnerabilities that are on any of your internal network devices from there.
Okay.
So Peyton, correct me if I'm wrong here, but what it covers though, it covers internal, external, and cloud scans.
Mhm.
So no matter what, you're just gonna know if your website is secure because that's just part of the package. But really for you, since you're not having any, it's hosted through a third party, it might not be, your website might not be as important. I'm sure they have something in place for you there, but the internal scans, finding vulnerabilities from your network internal inside of your store is going to be the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yep. So you would just use the domain to pretty much activate your account, and then we would just set up a quick call once you're in there to set up the internal scanning. And after that one-time setup, it'll be set in motion to just be like an ongoing scan. You won't have to set anything up from there, and you'll be good to go.
That was a good question.
Yeah, great.
Anybody
question.
else?
Thanks, Monty.
Yeah, no problem.
I do have a question.
Yes.
I kind of missed the part where you were showing us how to sign up for the integrations. On the
Oh, yeah.
screen where it says Ready Sentry subscription payment confirmation, I see there's a price for $250 every month.
So that's where, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I was gonna say,
hear
that's
that
where
part.
yeah. So that's where we'd want to look, and we'd want to see which one of those, because we have two different offerings there. One is single store, and the other one is multi-store with one VPN. So depending on how your networks are set up, there's a $100 charge per month per location, or there's a $250 one, but it depends. Like if you have multiple stores, which I know you guys do, it really depends on how your network's set up. So there could just be some savings there.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll give you guys a call after if I have any other questions.
Yeah, and if you want, I can get on a call with you after this, and I can talk to somebody in your IT team or who handles your IT, and we can see how you're set up and which route would be appropriate for you.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions?
You know, my two stores don't have an IT team, and part of that is because we're very basic in our approach to our systems and never really needed an IT team per se. And I'm okay. Do I need to hire somebody to help do this? Do I need to bring in a consultant?
No. For you, the route, if you have two stores anyways, it's the cheaper route would be setting them up with the single store anyways. So you're fine there. I'm sure if you don't have an IT team, you're probably set up with separate network. That would just be my guess right off the bat. But you don't need to bring in somebody else. We can help you there. And I'm sure Katie can get on a call with you and walk you through what that looks like.
All right, wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely, Monty. Well, if there are no other questions, you guys have our contact information. How much does it cost, Bree? So we just kind of talked about that. So $100 a month per location if you're on separate networks. If you are being funneled in through one VPN and you have multiple stores, then it's $250 a month, and that will cover all of your locations that are on that VPN. But yeah, if there are no other questions, then we'll go ahead and we'll wrap this up. I will shoot out the recording of the webinar to everybody via email once it downloads to my inbox. That might take 30 to 45 minutes, but just be on the lookout for that. And then if you guys have any questions, you know where to find us and we can get those answered. So I appreciate everybody's time. And we are going to be doing this every Thursday for the foreseeable future, since this is something that's new. So if you guys, like I said, if you have friends family that's in the retail space and they need to hear about this, please send them our way and we will get them on the webinar. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So, thanks
Have a
everyone.
good one.